Hi there, so Graham Fletcher here. I'm just going to explain to you a little bit about my McKenzie Friend support and how I go about providing it and what it might offer to you as a parent going to a family court hearing, either in person, and then I'll also cover if it's a remote hearing as well. So you might have watched my other video, which is about position statements and how I've helped people with position statements. So let's presume I've already helped you with a position statement and you're turning up. You've stated on paper your position to the court and the other parent, and you're turning up rather nervous. It's highly likely how you're going to be feeling. I've been there and I know what it feels like. And I've done a number of hearings and I know it can be really daunting, so I totally sympathise with you as a litigant in person. But it can also be fantastic when you save yourself thousands of pounds achieving a successful outcome against a lawyer. So let's keep that in mind as a positive thing that could happen when you go to court. Now, if you've written a good position statement and it's triggered a bit of thought, then when you arrive at court, if I was to meet you at a court hearing, so if I was to travel, I would normally meet you half an hour beforehand. I could meet you longer beforehand if you felt really nervous and you wanted to chat for longer and prepare. That could be something we could arrange. But I would typically meet somebody half an hour before the court hearing, at the court hearing, and we would sort of register with the clerk of the court, let them know that we're there, and we would kind of also ask, are the other parties there, so that we could try and see whether there's any possibility in an out-of-court agreement. The position statement might have sort of oiled the wheels for that, so to speak. So that could be something that could positively happen. And with family courts, I find that you very much have to be able to think on your feet really quickly. And sometimes when you're overwhelmed about the situation because it's your own family and you're really feeling, oh my gosh, this is really daunting, sometimes having somebody super calm like me, really positive, really fast thinking with an eye for detail is great, because I can help you go, right, what are the important details that we want to focus on? Let's not get lost on the distractions, the things that we're not really interested in. How can we move this forward? And we could see whether back and forth we could have a really healthy discussion with a lawyer to see whether we can reach points of agreement on certain points. We might not reach agreement on everything, but out of say 10 points we might reach agreement on 5 or 8, and that narrows down then what the court needs to do. So the likelihood could be that we then go in the courtroom and actually it's a much simpler discussion to have, because we've sort of narrowed down the issues, so to speak, is the way that the legal people would speak. And so that's one of the ways I can really help at a court hearing as your McKenzie friend. I've got lots of experience where this works really, really well, and you can go back and forth and you can reach negotiations. And obviously sometimes people can find solicitors quite intimidating because they'll speak in legalese, they'll speak down at you. It's a bit like suddenly you've been spoken to by the headmaster back at school days or something like that. A few people have really said it feels like that, and so I'm there to kind of be a buffer to that and to also energetically sort of stand up for you and your position as a McKenzie friend. So sometimes I can chat with lawyers and help negotiate, and I find that works really, really well. So that's a positive thing. Obviously, then when we go into the courtroom, I can't speak for you because you're a litigant in person, but I'm there to whisper. Sometimes I accidentally whisper at a volume that a judge might hear, but then I would expect you to repeat out loud. If there was something that I'd said that you thought was important, I would expect you to perhaps make a decision about if that was something that you aligned with, and you would repeat that to the judge so the judge could hear you say it as a litigant in person. And so that's one of the ways I can help you. It's a bit like you've got somebody having a hand on your shoulder, whispering to you quietly. You can turn around and ask me questions. And quite often these court hearings are happening quite quickly, and judge might start off at a particular pace because they've got quite a caseload going. So there's all sorts of difficult things to suddenly keep an eye on, or the solicitor for the other person might say something and you've got to try and process it and understand it and whisper to me back and forth to make sure that you understand what's going on. So sometimes these details are really, really important. So having someone like myself who's got years and years of court experience, I've got over 150 reviews online. I've published my own book about how family courts work. I've got a really popular YouTube channel. I know my stuff on McKenzie Friending and what works. And so I'm really there to really help you cope in what undoubtedly is going to be a really emotionally sort of unsettling time. So that's kind of really trying to give you an idea of where I come from a heart-centered place. You know, I'm very focused on trying to help people achieve positive outcomes. Normally they're in a difficult place, they're trying to get to a better place of co-parenting together a bit better and trying to just settle things down. And I've been on a journey of that myself, and very proud to have got to a very positive co-parenting place with my children who are now grown up, and I'd love to help you the same. So I hope that gives you an idea of the in-person experience. With remote hearings, it's a little bit different. Sometimes you don't really get the kind of situations where you can negotiate with solicitors beforehand. Sometimes they may have a video call on Skype or Zoom and there can be a bit of a discussion, but I find sometimes that's less frequent than you would get at an in-person hearing. And then during court hearings that are remote, I would normally text somebody privately, so obviously the judge or the solicitor can't see what we're saying, but I can offer advice. Somebody can ask me questions, and I can say, oh, this is an important detail, you might want to respond now, and I can be there to support you during the remote hearing itself as well. And sometimes that works really well, because you do need to have a quick thinking mind and an eye for detail in court hearings, because sometimes, like I said earlier, they're going really fast because the judge has got a lot on that day, and they can be really kind of varied in terms of the experience, and so you really have to be emotionally prepared for that. And you know, I'm there to give you confidence, calmness and steadiness of mind to help you kind of cope in that really fast moving situation. And then at the end of either hearing, whether it's in person or remote, I will give you the notes of what I've written up during the hearing, so that you've got notes. So if there's a court order written up by a barrister, then we can kind of make sure that what was said in the court hearing is in the order, not what the barrister wants in it, which is a kind of different question, isn't it? So I hope that's given you an idea of the vibe and the approach that I have as a McKenzie friend, and how I help people at family court hearings. And if you'd love to get in touch, just give me a call on 07906 956 035. Take care. Thanks for watching.